Our First Looks coverage is proudly powered by the Microsoft Store. Get your next laptop, tablet, Xbox, and more by going to firstlooks.tv/Microsoft. And with that, our first guest is here. Hello.
Hi.
How are you doing?
Good. My name's Cooper. I'm the Vice Chair of IEEE here at USF, which is the Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers at the University of South Florida. So we're basically the college version and version of what all these students are going to be doing when they get there. We also have a robotics team as well that participate in conferences and also just for hobbyists and stuff like that.
Nice.
We also have our Electrathon car here as well, which is basically it's more of an endurance race where you have a limited battery capacity, and it's how fast you can go and how many laps you can do in one battery charge. So it's a lot of fun.
We love our Electrathon people.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Yeah. So
we've had lots of opportunities to talk to
and
Electrathon.
we love learning more about that too.
It's such a cool organization.
Yeah, so it's a lot of fun, and we have a lot. We go all around the country to do it. So. And IEEE itself is actually a professional organization first, the largest in the world, and that trickled down into the student organizations as well. So it's a great opportunity for students to get more involved and network with professionals that are going to be in this industry, as well as teach them technical stuff that they need to know in the engineering world. So it's a lot of fun.
So are you a student or
Yes,
you? Okay.
yeah, I'm a fourth-year electrical engineering student here at USF.
At USF, okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Very cool. So, were you involved in stuff like in high school, and that's how you got into IEEE,
No.
or did you get here and you're like, hey, there's this thing?
No, yeah. So I actually became an electrical engineer because I did I replaced the sound system on my car, and from scratch, and so that kind of pushed me towards electrical, and I didn't know any of this existed when I was in high school. I was talking to a high schooler earlier who said he was in electronics 4. And I was like, I haven't taken electronics 2, These guys are amazing, So the fact that they have this opportunity to get so involved is incredible. So, it can only help them.
When did you discover FIRST and this whole world that's behind us?
So when I came in my freshman year, I was still unsure whether or not I wanted to do an electrical and mechanical engineering. And I saw IEEE come and present to one of our freshman classes, and they kind of showed some of the robotics that they had been building and the projects that they were working on. And so I started going to some of their meetings and kind of got a little bit more involved, and then everything picked up from there. So I've done stuff. I mean, heck, some of these kids are probably better than me, but I've built a couple of Bluetooth controlled RC cars as well, and things like that, because it's fun,
Isn't it?
Yeah. So yeah, these kids are way ahead of me though. They got a head start. Yeah.
So when did you start getting more involved in IEEE and decided you wanted to become the role you are now?
Yeah. So we actually had a conference, Southeast Conference at IEEE USF. So one of the people who was going to be the project lead of a hackathon that they were having had to step down. And I saw it as an opportunity to get a little bit more involved and take on a little bit more leadership. And so I ended up planning the hackathon, getting the venue, getting the companies, the sponsorships, and everything like that.
Nice.
And it was a really fun and successful event. And through that, I then applied to become the vice chair and ended up getting it that way. So yeah, now I've been really heavily involved in. It gives you the opportunity to, work on fun projects, We have we do a lot of funding for people if they have an idea in mind that they want to build. It's a great for fostering growth and creativity in engineering.
It's interesting. I also hosted a hackathon through USF.
Oh, really? Oh, that's awesome.
With the help of IEEE a number of years ago. So it's actually an interesting connection.
Yeah. So they're a lot of fun too. So
yeah,
for sure.
What kind of responsibilities do you oversee being the vice chair?
Yeah, so the president and I basically coordinate all the workshops that we have and all the industry presentations that we have throughout the year. So we have workshop chairs and more technical chairs that we have throughout the year, and we just basically oversee and make sure that everyone's organized, everyone's scheduled, and make sure that event dates aren't interfering with other IEEE dates. And, make sure that everyone for the Electrathon racing team has their funding and everything that they need. But yeah, we oversee things, and I get CC'd in a lot of emails, so that's always fun. But yeah. Cool.
How long have you been involved in the organization?
In IEEE?
Yeah.
Officially 3 years.
Okay.
Just through signing up as a student member. But then I really started to become more involved these last 2 years, and that's when I did the hackathon, and I started running for vice chair and things like that.
Okay.
So.
Very cool.
Mm-hmm.
So you mentioned that there's a robotics aspect of it. There's the Electrathon.
Yeah.
What other kind of outreach things does IEEE do? Because I know you guys do all kinds of.
Yeah.
It's a pretty wide organization.
Yeah, exactly. So IEEE itself is a technical organization first, and then more of a getting college engineers jobs as well. There's other organizations like Society of Women Engineers and Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers. So those are a lot more focused on just professional skills, how do you create your elevator speech and bringing you to conferences. IEEE is more technical, but we've been trying to reach out into those fields as well. So we do technical workshops like teaching people how to use the Arduino or Python or OpenCV. And then we also get in contact with companies in the area like Lockheed Martin and Mosaic and Burns & McDonnell, and they'll come in and they'll talk a little bit about their company and what opportunities that electrical engineers usually specifically, but other engineers could have in their company. So.
In what ways do you think IEEE better prepared you for your life after college?
Yeah, so if you just go through the regular engineering curriculum, there's probably only one project that you'll actually be working on, and the rest of it's just classwork. And when you go in and you talk to an interviewer, they don't care about your electrical systems 1 class that you took, because everyone took electrical systems, So they want to hear, what kind of projects have you been working on? What are you interested in? Yeah. And IEEE allows you the opportunity to do that, I had only been in IEEE for a couple months before I built the RC car, and I started working on the hackathon, and I put that on my resume, and the very next interviews I went to, that's all they wanted to talk about. That's all they cared about, because it's something different, and it shows that you're actually passionate about the electrical engineering field, and that you're not just going to get a job and go through the normal routine.
For sure. In my software company, when we hired people, I was never interested in their schoolwork or any of that.
Exactly.
It was always, what are you doing in your spare time?
Yeah.
What interesting things have you decided to do yourself?
Yeah, exactly. Because, you can have a high GPA and you can do the coursework, but unless you're passionate about what you're doing, if it doesn't really interest you, you're not going to have fun doing it, because it's, what you're going to be doing the rest of your life.
Exactly.
So
there was a panel earlier with Citibank, I think, and one of the women said, passion without motivation is valueless.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, whoa, those are the words I've been looking for. Because you can be passionate enough to get a perfect GPA all through school, but if you're not doing anything in your free time, there's no motivation there. That's not, obviously, building Bluetooth RCs and all that. You've got both.
So, I have a friend who's double major in electrical engineering and computer engineering.
Oof.
So, he had a lot of fun. And he actually just accepted a job offer at Citibank as well.
Nice.
And, he had a high GPA, but when he talked to me why they hired him, it wasn't because of that. He actually posted on his LinkedIn profile that he was reading a C++ book for fun, and that was it. And that started a conversation with one of the employers, you're actually interested in this.
And it sparked interest in
exactly.
their eyes. That's
and
awesome.
He was interested in what he was doing. So that's right.
It's interesting. We've been through the organization that puts on ROBOTICON. We've actually been talking about putting together reading lists, like the things that each of us are either currently reading or things that inspired us to go in the direction that we're going, for that reason, to show you got to be
Yeah, and you gotta, especially with with these kids, you have to break the disconnect between, a lot of people think that computer science and electrical engineering is just too hard, or if it wasn't meant for them. If they look at it, they see and they're like, oh, I can't do that. So, but we have to open those doors to them and show that this is
It's possible.
This is possible.
Yeah.
And it starts off really simple and it's a lot of fun. So once you start breaking down those barriers, that's when people can get really interested and involved with it.
Exactly.
And IEEE is, you said it's a
global organization.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's over 100 years old now.
Wow.
It started as just a professional organization, and now has just kind of become, for the professional side, it helps professionals stay up to date with continuing education. Because especially in electrical engineering, technology's constantly evolving. So it's very important for engineers to be up to date with what's new.
Yeah, for sure.
And as a student,
change in rules and regulations.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
There's all kinds of things that you've got to know.
Yeah, exactly. So, and on the student organization, it's just a fun way to kind of have a social and engineering outlet that you can work on throughout your spare time.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
I had an intern a couple years ago who was a student at USF,
Okay.
and we gave her a project. She's like, but I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And we said, that's the thing about being an engineer. An engineer is the job of never knowing what you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
you're not going to get a syllabus out there.
Yeah.
Because if you did know what you were doing, it's not engineering.
Yeah,
it's
then
just,
anyone could do it.
Yeah, exactly. You're not building something. You're just replicating something.
Yeah.
That's not.
You're just going through the motions.
That's not engineering. That's
Exactly. Yeah.
that's rote work.
Yeah.
Engineering is the process of never quite knowing what you're doing.
Yeah, I know, and so that can be part of the disconnect between the industry and the academia world.
For sure.
When I got into my internship, they gave me a project and they said, "Have fun." And they just leave you off to like that. So you definitely have to be self-structured, self-organized, and you have to be able to think outside of the box.
Is that what we did to you? Did we give you a project and just send you off on your own? She interned for our software company too.
Oh, okay, very cool.
Here, enjoy. Bye-bye.
Yeah,
we'll
have
talk to you
fun.
later. Well, if people want to find out more about IEEE or IEEE at USF, how can they do that?
Yeah, so definitely the first place to look would be on Facebook.
Okay.
You just type in IEEE USF. If you just type in IEEE on Google, that'll bring you to the main organization website. And then through that website, it'll lead you to the different student chapters you have, or the different professional chapters that would be in your area.
Awesome.
And they're all across the United States and the world. So if you live in the U.S. or anywhere in Europe or Asia, there's bound to be an organization near you that you could be a part of.
Very cool. Well, thank you so much for coming and talking to us today.
Yeah, thank you for your time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
And have a good rest of the event.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thank you.